Welcome back to the Quarterly Call. All content is for informational purposes and is not investment advice. Please consult with an investment professional.
All right, sounds good.
NVIDIA, right? Their fourth quarter of 2025.
Yeah.
Just wild. $39.3 billion in revenue.
It's something else.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But it's not even just the numbers themselves. What's interesting is what this tells us, maybe, about AI, where things are going.
Absolutely. And it's at the heart of it, this massive demand for AI right now. That's what's really fueling NVIDIA's success.
Yeah.
And it's all built around their new Blackwell architecture.
Okay.
But this isn't just about faster chips. It's like a whole different way of thinking about computing, like a paradigm shift almost.
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit, right? So their data center revenue.
Yeah.
More than doubled this year.
Yeah.
115.2 billion.
That's a lot of billion.
With a B, right? And then a huge chunk of that, 11 billion, came from Blackwell sales just in Q4.
Yeah.
It's the fastest any of their products have ever, taken off. So what's driving that?
Everyone's trying to build up their AI infrastructure, right? And Blackwell is the key to that. It's built to handle all that massive computing power that's needed for this next wave of AI, especially this thing called reasoning AI.
Okay.
We're talking about infrastructures that start at 100,000 GPUs,
100,000.
It's mind-boggling, the scale of it.
It's hard to even imagine that. Now, this reasoning AI, explain that to me a little bit, because I think people hear that and they're like, okay, I kind of get it, but maybe they don't.
So think about it this way, right? AI has always been good at stuff like recognizing images, translating languages, that sort of thing.
Right.
But reasoning AI, it goes way beyond that. It allows AI to actually think more like a human, to analyze information, connect the dots, really solve complex problems.
So it's not just about feeding AI data and it spits something out.
No, not at all.
It's about it understanding the data and then having its own little thought process going.
Exactly, its own thought process. And that's where it gets really interesting, because the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, he talks about these 3 scaling laws that are driving the demand for AI computing.
Okay.
Pre-training.
Okay.
Post-training.
Okay.
And then this new thing, inference time scaling,
Yes.
which is at the heart of this whole reasoning AI thing.
All right, so break down those 3 for me a little bit, because I think they're important, right?
It's fundamental, yeah.
What's the difference?
So pre-training. Think of that as the traditional way that we've been growing AI.
Okay.
It's feeding these AI models tons of data, teaching them basic patterns, ideas, building that foundation of knowledge, right?
So teaching it the rules of grammar before it can write a novel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Then you have post-training, which is taking those pre-trained models and refining them for very specific tasks. So it's now we're teaching the AI with the grammar how to write poems, screenplays, and then techniques like reinforcement learning with human feedback play a big role in this.
Okay, so you've got the foundation.
Right.
Then you build upon it with
Learning.
specific skills.
Precisely. Exactly.
Now, what about this inference time scaling? That's the new one, right?
Yeah, this is the new frontier. So inference time scaling, or what they call it test time compute, is all about giving the AI time and the resources to think about a problem.
Uh-huh.
The more computing power it has during that thinking phase, the more sophisticated its reasoning actually becomes. So that's where reasoning AI comes in, because it's not just about quick responses. It's about the AI actually taking the time to come up with a smarter answer.
So the more computing power it has while it's thinking, the more intelligent it becomes.
Essentially, yeah.
That's a crazy concept.
That's a very new idea.
Is that what's behind these really advanced reasoning AIs we're hearing about? What was it O3, R1,
Yeah.
Grok 3?
You got it. Those models, they need 100 times more computing power than traditional AI just for a single task, because they're really working through these problems step by step.
Okay, and so this is where Blackwell comes in, because it can handle that, and other architectures maybe can't as much.
Designed for it, Blackwell is built for this. It's got, compared to its predecessor, Hopper, 25 times higher what they call token throughput, and can run these models 20 times cheaper.
Okay, break those down for me a little bit. Token throughput, what does that mean in simple terms?
Think of it as reading speed for AI. So higher throughput means it can read and understand data that much faster.
So it's like speed reading AI.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that's impressive.
It is impressive.
And then lower cost means?
Lower cost means you're getting more thinking out of your AI for the same amount of power, right?
All right.
Getting more miles per gallon, but for AI processing.
I like that. Okay, so it's faster and more efficient. What else makes Blackwell stand out, though?
So Blackwell has this thing called an NVLink domain. which is like a superhighway for data inside the system. So it's 14 times faster than traditional methods, which means the AI can access and process information unbelievably quickly.
So it's not just about raw power. It's how efficiently it uses the power, how quickly it can move data around.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're talking about AI that can reason like humans. That opens up a ton of possibilities, right?
Limitless possibility.
But how does this translate to the real world? What does this actually mean for businesses, for industries out there?
That's a great question, and this is where we see the rubber meet the road. Like, companies across different industries are already using NVIDIA's inference platform to get incredible results.
Give me some examples because I think that's helpful for people to really grasp, like, what is this doing in the real world?
Sure, sure. So we've seen companies triple their inference throughput, meaning their AI can process information 3 times faster. And at the same time, they're cutting costs by like 66%. So for any business that relies on AI, that is huge.
So triple the speed and like two-thirds less cost? That's crazy.
It's happening. It's happening thanks to things like NVIDIA's TensorRT software, which is designed specifically to optimize AI inference. There are other examples too. Perplexity, for example, handles 435 million queries every month.
Wow.
They've cut their inference costs by a factor of 3
Wow.
using NVIDIA's Triton Inference Server and TensorRT LLM.
So this isn't just theoretical, right? It's actually impacting businesses now.
Real-world impact. Big time. And, even giants like Microsoft, they're seeing the benefits too. Microsoft has made their Bing search engine 5 times faster for visual searches across billions of images
Wow.
using TensorRT and other tools, and that has led to major cost savings for them, making their operations way more efficient.
So we're talking about major players already taking advantage of this.
Yeah, it's mainstream. AI is going mainstream.
It's not just hype. This is a fundamental change in how we think about, I guess, computing problem solving.
It really is.
It's fascinating.
And Jensen Huang predicts, that data centers are going to start spending more and more on accelerated computing and AI. He sees a future where data centers basically become AI factories.
AI factories.
Yeah, every company will either rent or run their own AI factory.
That's a powerful image. It's like the Industrial Revolution, but for AI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The scale and the transformative power of it is incredible. It's a global shift towards AI-powered solutions.
So this is like the beginning of, maybe a global shift towards that kind of problem solving.
Yeah. Companies that embrace this change, I think, are going to have a huge advantage.
Okay. So AI going mainstream, companies starting to benefit. There have to be some big questions that come along with that, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. We can't ignore the potential challenges here, right?
Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind is this whole, geopolitical situation, trade tensions, export controls. How is that affecting NVIDIA's growth and just the whole AI landscape in general?
It's changing so fast, right? It's hard to keep up with all the different things that are at play.
Absolutely. So NVIDIA has said that the export controls have had a significant impact on their sales in China, which are now about half of what they were before the controls.
Oh.
But they're committed to serving customers within the regulations, obviously, and are seeing a lot of growth in other regions, particularly in the U.S., as demand for AI infrastructure keeps growing globally.
So it's a complicated situation. There are challenges, there are opportunities. These restrictions, I guess, they create some uncertainty, maybe slow things down a little bit in some places, but they also maybe push for more innovation. Companies have to look for different markets, different solutions. It's an interesting time to be following all of this.
Dynamic, for sure. A very dynamic situation. One thing's clear, though, and that is that the race for AI dominance is on, and companies like NVIDIA are, right at the center of it.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've covered a lot today. NVIDIA's crazy performance, the rise of reasoning AI, what it means for different industries. It feels like we're at the very beginning of something huge.
Yeah, we are.
A new era of computing. One where AI plays a central role in everything, from driving innovation to solving problems to changing how we work, how we live.
You've summed it up perfectly. And it's just the beginning. These advancements we're seeing today, it's just a glimpse of what's to come. AI is evolving so rapidly, it's almost hard to imagine what breakthroughs are waiting for us.
That's both exciting and terrifying. We're going to pick this up in part 2 of this episode. We'll dive even deeper into some of the specific applications of this reasoning AI and explore the opportunities for different industries.
It's going to be fascinating. So much more to discuss.
Until then, stay curious and stay informed. We'll be back soon.
See you then. Welcome back to the quarterly call.
So, we talked in the last part about reasoning AI.
Right.
It's changing a lot of industries.
Absolutely.
But I think it's helpful for people to really see how is that playing out
Yeah. Real world examples.
beyond just the concepts, right?
For sure.
So let's get into some specifics.
Okay.
What are some of the industries that are really leading the way with this?
Well, I mean, one of the most obvious examples is the automotive industry. This push towards self-driving cars is happening so fast, and reasoning AI is a crucial part of that.
Yeah, because a self-driving car has to make decisions in a split second
Exactly.
based on everything around it.
Real time.
That's some serious reasoning power, right?
No, absolutely. And companies like NVIDIA are developing the platforms and tools that make that possible. Like their Drive Hyperion platform, for example, it's already earned industry safety certifications. I mean, that shows you how far this technology has come.
So we're not just talking about science fiction anymore, right? This is actually happening.
It's real.
These cars are on the road.
They're on the road.
And that reasoning AI is what allows them to navigate in all these different situations.
Yeah, and it's not just cars for everyday drivers either. Companies like Aurora and Continental are using NVIDIA's Drive Thor platform to put driverless trucks on the road. I mean, that could completely change transportation and logistics.
Driverless trucks, that's an interesting one. I hadn't really thought much about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
you take human error out of the equation.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the efficiency goes way up. The safety goes way up.
It's a game changer.
That's really interesting.
And as the technology improves, I mean, who knows, we'll probably see even more applications from delivery robots to autonomous drones. The sky's the limit.
Okay, so we're on the verge of a transportation revolution.
Maybe.
What about outside of the automotive world? What other industries are seeing a big impact?
Healthcare. Healthcare is another big one. I mean, AI's ability to analyze massive amounts of medical data, to find patterns, to make predictions, it's incredibly valuable in that space. It can help us improve diagnosis, treatments, patient outcomes.
Now, you think about early detection of disease,
Yeah,
personalized medicine, drug discovery.
absolutely.
All of those things AI can really play a role in.
And they are playing a role. I mean, companies like IQVIA, Illumina, the Mayo Clinic, they're already using NVIDIA's AI platforms to speed up drug discovery, to improve genomic research, to develop, cutting-edge healthcare services.
So it's actually happening. It's amazing what this could do for healthcare, honestly.
It's
It could
transformative.
really change things.
And I mean, it goes beyond just those two industries too, right? I mean, we're seeing reasoning AI used in finance for things like fraud detection and risk assessment. In manufacturing, it's helping with predictive maintenance, quality control. Even in retail, they're using it for personalized recommendations and optimizing supply chains.
So it really is widespread.
Yeah.
Pretty much every industry can benefit from this in some way.
Pretty much, yeah.
But, all these benefits, there must be some challenges, some concerns that come along with all this as it gets more and more widespread.
Well, yeah, I think it's important to have a balanced view, right?
Sure.
To see the potential, but also to recognize the limitations.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that we should be thinking about
As this keeps evolving.
as this keeps evolving, right? One thing that comes to mind is the need for explainability. As these systems get more and more complex, it can be hard to understand how they're arriving at their decisions.
Sure.
And that lack of transparency, I think, can make people hesitant to trust these systems, especially in areas like healthcare or finance, where the stakes are so high.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not enough for it to just be powerful.
Yeah.
We have to be able to understand why it's making the decisions it's making.
Exactly. So explainable AI, or what they call XAI, is actually a growing field of research, really focused on finding ways to make AI's decision-making processes more transparent, more understandable for us humans. And I think that's going to be key in building trust and ensuring that these AI systems are used responsibly and ethically.
It's like the AI has to be able to explain itself
It does.
in a way that humans understand. I like that.
It's a partnership between humans and AI.
I like that. So we're not just building AI.
Right.
We're making sure we can understand it and it can explain itself.
It's a collaboration.
I think we've covered some really important points, I think,
Yeah, a lot of ground.
about the power of reasoning AI to really change industries, to solve these really difficult problems.
Absolutely.
But also, I think it's clear that we have to be really careful
Thoughtful.
about how we approach it
Yeah.
and how we deploy it.
And the potential impacts on society, on the economy, on our individual lives.
It's a big conversation
It is.
that I think we're just starting to have,
We're
honestly.
just getting started.
All right, this is a good place to move into our final segment where we'll talk about some of the even bigger implications of all this
The big picture stuff.
and leave our listeners with some things to really think about where this is all going.
Love it. This is a conversation that's just getting started.
Welcome back to the Quarterly Call. So we've talked about NVIDIA, we've talked about reasoning AI, where this is all going.
Yeah, the big picture now.
What are some of the implications of all this? This is where it starts to get really, like, philosophical. It does.
What are the big questions this brings up, you think?
Well, I mean, one of the most fundamental questions is, like, what does it even mean to be intelligent, you know?
Right.
As AI systems get better at reasoning, at learning, at problem solving, the line between human intelligence and artificial intelligence starts to get really blurry.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, like, how do we define intelligence then?
Exactly.
If a machine can think through a complex problem, could be creative, learn from its mistakes,
Right.
is that a form of intelligence?
It definitely challenges our definition of intelligence.
Yeah.
You know, it forces us to look at what makes us unique as humans, what sets us apart from these increasingly sophisticated machines.
We've always thought of ourselves as, like, the smartest, right?
Top of the food chain.
The only ones capable of real thought, but now we're creating these machines that can do some of that.
It's a humbling thought for sure.
It is humbling. Makes you wonder, like, what are the limits of this? Will AI ever truly be able to replicate or even surpass human capabilities?
I mean, who knows? That's the big
Uh,
question. It's a big question, and it makes you think. And then it's not just about intelligence, right? This has implications for, like, the future of work, the economy, how our society is structured.
Absolutely. Like we talked about before, I mean, job displacement is a real concern. But this also gives us a chance to rethink what work even means, you know? Maybe AI can handle those boring, repetitive tasks, freeing us up to focus on more meaningful, creative work.
That's an optimistic way to look at it, but it does mean we have to change,
You'd have to adapt.
learn new skills.
Yeah, absolutely. The jobs of the future will be very different from the jobs we have today.
Yeah. Which brings up another question, which is, like, how do we even prepare for this?
Yeah.
How do we make sure everyone benefits from this and can succeed in this new world?
I think education and retraining are going to be crucial. You know, we need to give people the tools and knowledge to succeed in an AI-driven economy.
Right.
And of course, you know, we can't forget about the ethical considerations. Like, AI needs to be used responsibly so that it doesn't exacerbate existing inequalities.
So it's not just about building the AI. It's about making sure it's used ethically. It's used for good.
It's about shaping the future we want.
Right. Exactly. This isn't set in stone. We have control over this.
We do.
It's up to us to use it to make things better.
Well said.
Remember that quote from Jensen Huang, NVIDIA CEO? He said, "Going forward, data centers will dedicate most of their capital expenditure to accelerated computing and AI. Data centers will increasingly become AI factories, and every company will have either renting or self-operated ones."
AI factories. That's an interesting image.
It is. It really captures that, like, scale, the potential of this.
The scope of it.
But then it also makes you wonder, like, who controls these factories? Who benefits from them? How do we make sure they're used responsibly?
All valid questions. As AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives, we need to be aware of the potential impacts on society, the economy, and on each of us individually.
So it really is a lot to think about. We've talked about redefining what intelligence means, changing the future of work. This is pushing us to really ask ourselves some big questions as humans about where we're going.
Absolutely. Some of the biggest questions humanity has ever faced.
And there aren't easy answers.
No easy answers, but that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to explore different viewpoints, to work together to ensure that AI develops in a way that aligns with our values, our goals.
And we've just scratched the surface today, really. But hopefully this has given everyone listening a better understanding of the impact that this is having on the world. The story's still being written, and the choices we make today are going to determine what happens next.
For sure.
So to leave everyone with something to think about, how might reasoning AI affect your industry, your daily life? You know, how could it change the way you work, the products you use, the decisions you make? It's worth thinking about.
Absolutely. A lot to ponder.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Quarterly Call. For more episodes, please remember to rate and follow our show. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.